Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. Today's video we're continuing on with my NTRL Honda NSX Cup, moving over to Kyoto Driving Park, driving on the full layout combining both the long track and the short track to make the ultimate version of this circuit. So same as before, it is a one make championship, however it is split into 3 classes over 3 different generations or versions of the Honda NSX. Let's head over to the safety car for a lap around Kyoto Driving Park. So as you begin, you'll be coming up to this sweeping left-hander that will pretty much go 180 on itself. You'll then head up a very awkward section which takes you uphill with some sweeping right-left bends. Now get it wrong up here and you are basically asking for trouble. There is absolutely barely any runoff areas, and most of the time you're going to clip that grass and spin yourself around. Most of the accidents here will end up at the top of the hill. As you can see, there's a bit of grass and then a barrier. You get it wrong and you're probably going to be slapping into that barrier right up there. Now after you've done another sweeping left-hander this time, you are going to head downhill. Now the cars here are relatively quick and they can get made very unstable by that little bump before you head downhill. You've then got a very heavy braking zone for the right-hander, which is very tight and going to line you up for a very tight left-hander. A little bit later on in the lap, the next section that may cause you some issues is another sweeping left-hander, basically going 180 degrees back around on itself before heading down a mini straight, basically backwards on the Miyabi layout, and then into a very tight right-hander with a very heavy braking zone. Once again, plenty of overtaking opportunities and also multiple lines that you'll start seeing coming out of there. However, if you absolutely nail it and get a good run up the hill, you can get some overtaking done. You'll then head into another tight left-hander, plenty of 180 degree bends here where they're constantly going back on themselves. As you can see, again, another heavy braking zone, great for overtaking, before heading downhill to this very awkward section. A bit like the uphill section, this time going down. Get it wrong and you will end up in the barrier. It can be very awkward through there. It just takes one wrong clip of the curb and it is basically you done for that entire lap then. Now after that, you'll have the final corner, heading back down the straight and then over the line to complete a lap. Around about a 2.5 minute lap here on average, sometimes ranging into 3 minutes depending on the car. So let's get round 2 underway. It's going to be Timo taking us away from pole. Again, in terms of the class, we've got the 17s, the 02 and the 92 all split, so there is plenty of wins on offer for overall and your classes. So it's going to be Timo that's hung out wide. Mira gets the inside line and he's basically going to inherit the lead there as Timo gets it a little bit wrong. Nizam also going wide but managing to keep it on the track. Timo does recover, however we also have the likes of Stee and Jody now in the running as well for P3 after Nizam's little wide run. Behind him we have the likes of Shikata and Viper, who are also battling away for their class on us, and myself, who is pretty much pulling away a comfortable lead very early on in the 92s. Viper's then going to make a move and get a little bit door-to-door with Jody. That's going to punt her out wide. She's then going to be in a bit of trouble. As you can see, she's going to run it wide and lose a ton of momentum. However, she should have the relative pace to keep it up. Now in terms of the 02 battle, we do have Viper leading that. However, in second we do have Shikata, who's basically holding me off from a 92 class win. As you can see, my closest rival Jace is just a little bit behind there, getting a very decent start, even though he did start from quite a bit further back in terms of the overall grid positionings. Again, lots of little battles going on inside a one-make race. Plenty of things on offer to win. As we can see, Jay sat in P7. His main target is going to be myself. Jody getting it wide once again. Viper dropping back as well. So Shikata inherits the lead of the 02 class in terms of that battle. We also have Stuart. He's again in P3 in class, closely followed by Professor. Then we have another one of the 92s just behind him in P12. That's going to be Sean. However, sadly, he is going to have connection issues and end up dropping out from this race, meaning that he's going to again get a 0-pointer for this one. We also have Tony P13, another 92 in P14 with Braggy, Coda sits P15, and then finally we will have Pedro, who is standing in for DWG in this race, in P16, and last for the 02 class as well. Coming towards the end of the first lap, as you can see, there's a decent spread going on in the field. We do have a 17 that's kind of stranded mid-pack. Again, very awkward for overtaking, especially if the cars are bunched up. However, in terms of the battle for P5 overall, and both class leaders for both 02 and 92, it's going to be myself and Shikata as we go on board with myself, just chasing them up this very awkward hilly section. Again, like I mentioned, if you get it wrong through here, you are going to be in trouble. Shikata cuts it very fine, bumping off that curb there. So plenty going on, even, you know, class versus different class battles, even in terms of the leaders for them. However, I am going to end up having a bit of an off, the car just not turning in, and that is going to put us into the pack and allow Jace to inherit the lead of the 92 battle. And again, we're going to lose a few more positions here as Viper also goes through. Again, not sure what happened, the car just didn't want to turn into the left-hander, and that was basically it. You know, put us in a very awkward position after a relatively decent lead in terms of my own class battles, but losing a couple of positions there. Stewart also with you know, a better car overall, so I'm assuming he'll probably get us as well soon, which will drop me all the way down to P9. So Stewart running it out wide there in terms of the battle. He's going to try and get the cut back inside, but we do have that one covered off, as we're just hoping that Viper slipstreams us through, as the O2 will be relatively quicker through this tight and twisty section uphill. So after plenty of position changes early on, we're going to go to the midpoint of the race, where the majority of the grid did settle down and kind of break out into its own little battles. We obviously have Mira, Timo, and then we have a nice little battle here for overall in P3, as well as P3 in the 17 class between both Stee and Nizam. So plenty going on with those pair. They're going to battle all the way through this entire race, which is great to see. Shikata leading the O2 classes basically in his own little race at the minute. In terms of second in O2, it's going to go to Viper, who's currently stuck in a little pack battle with around about 3 different generations of NSX, as well as, you know, about 5 drivers who are going to kind of get involved throughout the entirety of this race. As you see, Jodie making her way through the pack after those early offs and mistakes, so she's got plenty of ground to make up, but a ton of traffic to get through, as everybody is just battling everybody at this point. A little bit further back though, the grid a bit more spread out. We have the likes of Braggy, who is kind of like stranded in P14, Pedro, who is just kind of in his own little world during this race, but again, you know, a little bit more spread out towards the end of the pack and the front of the pack. However, the battle for P3 would definitely hype up as the race went on. As you can see, Steve trying to get that move done. He did seem to have better pace than Nizam through here, and he's going to try absolutely everything without making contact. Looking like Nizam though does manage to get the better line and get the power down much better out of that one. Jace is then going to have a big off and drop off from that pack that is having that kind of, you know, 3-class battle going on. So that's very unfortunate from him, dropping from around about P2 in class, and that's going to lose him a ton of positions as Coda goes through there, and that will drop Jace all the way to P12, so plenty of work for him to do. Again, in terms of Nizam and Stee, they are still battling on, even on lap 5. However, Stee is finally going to get that move done, managing to put the pace down. All he needs to do now at this point is just break away into the final few minutes of this 15-minute sprint race, and that battle between I guess over P6 really is still going on. So we have 2 of the O2 cars, but Stewart this time is going to absolutely bin himself into the wall again. Basically a repeat of what happened to Jace as Jodie then goes through, so she's made up 2 positions considering all the carnage up ahead of us. So yeah, at least a bit of a recovery drive going on there, but again Coda then benefiting from that one, and also Jace this time as he begins to recover from a previous lap or 2 ago. So again, he's trying to charge through the field. However, it only left myself and Viper to battle it away, as Viper decided to get door to door, give me a little nudge, but we managed to keep it and managed to get down the inside and get that move done, moving us back into P6 and very much clear of the rest of the 92 class, as Viper drops back to P7 there, still maintaining his P2 in class though. And that is going to be that move done, and the race finally done as Mira absolutely dominates after starting second. He takes the win there, so very well done to him. Very dominant drive. In terms of P2, that's going to go to Timo. Probably disappointed after he really did have a bit of a fluff start, and that dropped him way back as the race started to go on. In terms of P3 though, Steve manages to absolutely break away from Nizam, and that's going to give him a first podium of the season. P3 for him, P4 to Nizam. A great battle between those guys throughout the entire race. P5 and winner of the O2 class is going to go to Shikata. Again, a great class win for him. In terms of the next bunch of cars, it's going to be myself and Viper, P6 and P7, so a win for the 92 class for myself. P2 in class for Viper. Jody takes P8, finally getting a bit of a recovery after dropping all the way to the back of the pack at the beginning. P9 Coda, absolutely quiet drive but managing to take advantage of other mistakes, and then Stewart beats Jace for that P10, so Jace P11 there. P12, a very quiet race for Professor as he returns to the Honda Championship. P13 is going to go to Tony. Not a great race for him, a few mistakes that he mentioned, however he does manage to get it across the line. Braggy takes the next position, or P3 in terms of the 92s, with Sean dropping out, and finally Pedro takes the line for P15. So it's time to head over to look at the class winners. For the 2017 class, it's going to go to Mira once again. Although he started P2, he did manage to get a very good start and then just pull away and absolutely dominate this race. Again, another dominant performance from Shikata, managing to get ahead of the rest of the O2s and have a very quiet race, but absolutely dominant for the 2002 class. Once again, a very well done to him and a very dominant drive. So absolutely taking the honours of that O2 class. In terms of the 92s, it's going to go to myself, although Jace did put up a great fight in the early stages. Unfortunately, a big crash by him kind of dropped him back, and with only 3 cars finishing from the 92, everybody basically got themselves on the podium. So time for the overall standings after round 2 at Kyoto Driving Park. In terms of the 17s, Mira is absolutely flying in first place with 52 points. Timo 5 points behind him with 47, followed by Nizam on 40, Steve just 1 point behind on 39, and Jody brings it up the rear for 22 points. Overall, in terms of the 17s, it's looking like it's Mira versus Timo for overall class honours. However, that battle for P3 absolutely looking great. In terms of the O2 class, the most, I guess, biggest class of the bunch, Shikata leads it on 35, absolutely dominating ahead of Viper on 17, who's very closely followed by Stu. Coda takes P4, a very quiet P4, but definitely getting the points in there. Tommy Hawk 9 points for P5. P6 Turbo Boy, obviously not present in this round as he was a stand-in. Professor Smiles, who Turbo Boy stood in for, on 4 points. DWG not present here on 1, and Pedro on 1. In terms of 92 class, it's myself flying ahead on 36 points, way ahead of Jace on 18 in P2. Braggy is on 4 points in P3, and unfortunately, due to 2 DNF disconnections in a row, Sean, after 2 rounds, sits on a whopping 0 points. Just unfortunate due to the connection errors. However, I'm sure we'll see him return next round to try and get those points in there for the 92s. In terms of my channel members, I want to give you guys a massive thank you. So, big thank you to Victory 2FA, Milton, Lewis Vieira, Old School Gamers, Crazy Cobra, Carl Wyatt, Phil Wilmot, Dominic Saylor, Dan, Sean and Chris 75572. Big thank you for your support, and a big thank you to you guys watching for joining me. Join me next time as we'll have round 2 of our GT Championship. I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys. Peace.